Art is an extension of human creativity within a physical and/or shareable form, to put it as simply as possible. Some art is definitely considered better than others, but at the end of the day, art is art. Art critics like to take a more philosophical approach when it comes to interpreting what is good art or what should even be considered art, including factors like who made it, what went into making it, why it was made, the meaning, and the results. But with that, our mediums of expressing ourselves have had the capability of becoming much more complex simply due to the technology we have created. Photography, movies, and especially the most recent solidified medium, video games. And even though in 2011, with Brown v. Entertainment Merchants Association extending artistic protections to video games, making them legal art, some art critics still like to challenge the artistic value of video games from a philosophical standpoint, given the fact that they are games. So I've been wanting to make this video not to justify that video games are better than other art forms, but to bring attention to the fact that video games already have a considerable amount of different elements that are already considered art within their own respects. If you recognize and appreciate them all together, there is a very strong case that video games themselves can be considered the ultimate artistic medium in terms of the way you can experience it, as well as all of the artistic talent and elements required to make a good game. And even though this may not be anything new to you, I would still like to lay out the ideas behind this and let you yourself be the judge. And there is no better place to start than to recognize, analyze, and appreciate other art forms. The oldest types of art most likely being storytelling and music. From there we later see painting, sculpture, and then landscaping and architecture. After that we find acting and directing, only to jump into more recent forms of art like photography and editing, just to name a few. All of these categories have within them what many people consider masterpieces of human creativity, all of which have greatly contributed to human cultures around the world. Tale of Two Cities, Imagine, The Starry Night, The Thinker, Versailles Garden, The Hagia Sophia, Heath Ledger's performance of the Joker, A 2001 Space Odyssey, the movie, The Migrant Mother, and yes, even Toy Story. Each one of these being amazing works of art, human creation, that should not be compared to one another but instead respected within their own context. And with these different forms of art, technology has allowed us to seamlessly put some of them together, creating entirely new mediums of expression. Things like theater, cinema, and even video games. Each one having the capability of being more complex than the other, but not necessarily better, because I don't think anybody's arguing that Wii Sports is better than Les Miserables. But there are definitely some video games that can give you a much more engaging and rich experience. Not all, but some. So let's break down the artistic outreach that some video games have to better understand the artistic value. The first and most important, as well as the controversial bit, is how you experience it. Unlike almost all other mediums which make you an observer or listener, basically making you the passenger in a vehicle, video games make you the driver. You are literally in control of the progress of the experience. Experiences that will always vary simply due to the options and/or gameplay mechanics. Some great examples being Portal 2, Mass Effect 2, Pokemon Red and Blue, as well as Super Mario 64. There are even amazing shared experiences like in League of Legends, Dota, most first-person shooters, and almost any MMO. The idea of it being a game often distracts critics who refuse to recognize it as being potentially a more complex way of experiencing different art mediums. I say that because they are not always just games, they could be virtual experiences. In many cases, it lets you explore and analyze so many different forms of art at once in ways that a picture or a movie simply can't let you do. You are the driver. And of course, not all video games give you such an experience. Tetris is considered art, but it has a limited amount of artistic complexity that it can give you, and that's okay. But there are video games with such complex artistic mediums that they can give you an experience unlike anything else humans could possibly create. Because that's when you factor in all the things games can give you. Storytelling, music, painting, sculpture, landscaping, architecture, acting, directing, photography, and/or editing, along with giving you control of the progression of the experience, which, in essence, can make video games most likely the ultimate artistic medium that we have created thus far. So let's dive in a little further into why. Storytelling can be a crucial element, whether that be one the creators made or one they put in your hands. Storytelling is a beautiful way to build lore, curiosity, and even communities. It's a critical element that makes something engaging, not just simply addictive. Games like The Last of Us, Final Fantasy VII, Silent Hill 2, and Shadow of the Colossus being great examples, in contrast to games like Flappy Bird. Next, video games often include music and can have amazing soundtracks that themselves are beautiful works of art to enrich the environment they create. But sadly, good music in video games tends to go unappreciated outside of the gaming community. This can include games like Super Mario Galaxy, World of Warcraft, and Halo being some good examples. Painting, sculpture, and arguably photography are everywhere. Any game that has characters that are 3D models has sculpting. 2D in some respects can be a neat mix of painting and sculpture, and textures tend to be a very neat creation involving both pictures and painting. Some great examples being Shovel Knight, Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and Tomb Raider. Architecture and landscaping are key elements in creating worlds by designing buildings, landscapes, cities, planets, you name it. And there are undoubtedly visual experiences that have created gorgeous worlds like GTA 5, Batman Arkham Asylum, and Skyrim. And sometimes such creativity is put into the hands of the users, like in Minecraft and The Sims. If you've ever played games with characters that have artificial intelligence, you essentially have acting done by computers to enrich a user's experience. And that is essentially what artificial intelligence in video games is typically used for. Most people don't think of AI like that, but whether it be good guys, bad guys, or background characters who perform tasks and move freely, we have AI to act it out. Some could argue even the voice actors, and you add to this. Games like Assassin's Creed, Fear, Killzone 2, even simpler games like Animal Crossing all being great examples. And lastly, clearly all video games have some level of directing and editing, simply due to the nature of the craft. Whether that be an individual who is directing a group on how they should be making and editing things, or an individual themselves deciding on how they want to contribute to their own game or a game made by many. And of course, the list just goes on and on and on. So would all video games be classified as an ultimate work of art? No. Are there video games that should be considered ultimate art forms? Well, I definitely think there are plenty of contenders, yes. Because when I say ultimate art form, once again, I am not trying to justify that it is better than all others, because all art should be respected within its own context. I mean, the sheer amount of artistic talent along with the experience that can give you something that no other artistic medium alone can give you. Because even though video games right now are just seen as a trend, pop culture and nothing more, video games are a very important part of modern society within many contexts. And they will be an important part of the historical context of our species. Whether that be through an artistic lens, a medical lens, a financial lens, you name it. Because one day there will be art critics and sections of museums dedicated to this very unique and amazing form of human creation. Actually, they're already starting to show up. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of my video. I have two questions for you today. Do you think video games should be considered the ultimate art form in the context I specified? Especially considering all the artistic mediums and the experience itself. And or, what is your favorite video game of all time? And with all that said and done, my name's Dale, this is Think Fact, and remember, never stop learning, or thinking, in this case. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. That would really help the video out. And if you haven't already, please feel free to check out some of my other content, and subscribe if you're interested in staying up to date for the facts and thoughts that almost everybody missed. Have a good one.